The following is a News Channel 5 Network special presentation.
I just got robbed by like 5 teenagers. I don't know, they walked in front of my car. 2 of them pulled guns on me.
She was just 16 years old. She was a good baby. She did not deserve this at all. My heart is broken to pieces and will never be the same.
Good evening. Almost every week there are news stories about horrific crimes involving Nashville's youth. Robberies, carjackings, even murders.
These days, Nashville's problem is becoming Middle Tennessee's problem, with police in surrounding counties regularly reporting pursuits and other run-ins with the city's teens.
For 6 months, our entire News Channel 5 Investigates team has been digging into what many believe is a broken juvenile justice system, looking for what needs to be done to keep our families safe.
Phil Williams discovered a revolving door that is also failing the children themselves.
Troubles of this world, troubles of this world.
When teens gun down innocent people on the streets of Nashville,
First of all, Father God, we want to thank you for this precious life.
the visuals may be different,
Whomever did it, if you're affiliated with them, apologize to this woman. And if you don't, turn from your wicked ways right now. While the blood is still running warm in your body, hellbound you'll be.
but the grief feels the same. The victim in this case, 16-year-old Debrianna Begley, gunned down outside her family's public housing apartment.
My baby died in my hands. She didn't have to do this. Why did they do this to my baby? Oh, Nunu, I love you so much. You will always be missed.
A month later,
You tried to take my bank account, I'll give it to you, but leave my dad alive. I'll give everything to keep my dad's life back.
it was 74-year-old Rusine Wong shot and killed as he took out the trash.
Kyle was nothing if not my best friend.
And earlier this year, 24-year-old singer Kyle Yorlitz murdered during an attempted carjacking. Police were frustrated.
We've got to do better. Families have to do better. The systems have to do better. It is unfathomable.
Juvenile crime as overall is going down.
Davidson County Juvenile Court Judge Sheila Calloway has seen a drop in some crimes involving kids, like burglaries and aggravated assaults.
Now, the trend that keeps me up at night, that I get concerned about, is that our serious crimes, the children that are committing, are alleged to have been committing murders or aggravated robberies, gun possessions, those crimes aren't necessarily going down.
You're seeing more kids stealing cars and more kids in possession of handguns. That's a deadly combination, isn't it?
Yes, that's exactly what I call a recipe for disaster.
Lieutenant Blaine Whitehead heads the Metro Nashville Police Department's Juvenile Crime Task Force.
Why is it still being a problem? Why are we still experiencing the same youth committing violent offenses and car thefts over and over and over again?
Are they not afraid of juvenile court?
From our experiences, they do not, a lot of times, even think there was any consequences because they're released so fast.
By law, most juvenile criminal histories are confidential, but News Channel 5 Investigates obtained juvenile crime data going back almost 8 years. While it did not contain names, by cross-checking specific charges with the dates of known crimes, we developed unprecedented insight into the path that sometimes leads to murder.
What we discovered is a revolving door that often puts teen offenders, in some cases deeply troubled children, back out on the streets again and again and again.
In fact, out of some 35 kids charged with homicide since 2016, we discovered almost 2/3 had confirmed juvenile records that should have set off alarms. Among them, 2 of Debrianna Begley's accused killers.
Sitting here as a mother looking at these juvenile records, they should have been locked up.
We showed Debriana's mother what we uncovered. 16-year-old Jamarius Hill was first arrested for theft of merchandise at age 12. By 14, it was handgun possession and evading arrest. At 15, he pulled off a carjacking charged with aggravated robbery, auto theft, and handgun possession. He was put on intensive probation. Within 6 months, he was arrested twice more.
The same way these kids getting out here doing these crimes as like an adult doing crimes, they need to be charged as adults doing these crimes.
6 months later, Debriana was killed.
We can't be lenient on them because they're going to keep going out here doing it. Who want to keep losing innocent family members to juveniles? Who want to keep getting up every morning, their cars gone, their house shot up? Juveniles, juveniles, juveniles. No, y'all got to be more harder on these juveniles. And maybe the streets will be a little better.
Locking them up is not always the best answer.
Judge Calloway says she's trying to provide interventions that give kids a chance to become productive members of society and not inmates that taxpayers will have to pay to keep behind bars for the rest of their lives.
But some people will say locking them up protects the public.
What we have to do in order to protect the public is to put more services and resources into every child.
Shot him, dragged him out here.
The murder of the Asian tourist Rusine Wong came just 8 months after the alleged shooter, 16-year-old Maisha Brown, was arrested for auto theft and other charges. Just 2 months before the shooting, she'd been arrested for handgun possession and released on intensive gang probation.
He was just always a sweet and genuine guy.
When Cal Yorlis was killed during an apparent carjacking, all 5 of the suspects, ages 12 to 16, were known to police. Our investigation discovered that one of the suspects, a 13-year-old boy whose name has not been released, had been arrested for auto theft less than 3 weeks before.
The juvenile law prohibits local detention facilities, local judges from detaining juveniles in many of the situations where they need detention the most.
Former juvenile prosecutor Jim Todd said that in many cases the judge's hands are tied because detention is not a tool that can be used for nonviolent offenses.
The first time a 12-year-old steals a car and is arrested with some crack cocaine, they're going to get sent home that night. The mother that wasn't watching him at 2 a.m. is going to get called and say, come get your kid, because by law in Tennessee, they can't be detained.
I would love to be able to, prior to releasing that child, to that parent, is to do an assessment on what that child needs, what that parent needs, and to figure out, what can we put in the home prior to us releasing them back to the home without anything. We don't have the ability to do that now.
One option that judges do have is to commit juvenile offenders to the custody of the State Department of Children's Services.
When you send a child to DCS, it's because you feel like that child needs to be treated in a secure facility?
That is correct.
For that child's protection?
In the community safety as well.
And what guarantee do you have that that child will actually be locked up?
I have no guarantee that that child will actually be locked up.
Back in March, an Uber driver was shot during an attempted carjacking. The alleged shooter, 16-year-old David Earl Mays, was first arrested for burglary at age 10. At age 12, handgun possession and theft of merchandise. Again at 13 for handgun possession and assault. At 14, he was placed in DCS custody. At 15, he was again arrested for aggravated robbery, auto theft, and handgun possession. He was sent back to DCS. At the time of the shooting, the agency had let Mays out on a weekend pass.
I go back to a lot of these juveniles that I talked to when I was a prosecutor, and they just all say the same thing. Had I known, I would never have kept doing what I was doing. And they say that when they were in TDOC custody serving 30 years.
Had I known what?
Consequences.
No more dying there. No more dying there.
It's a system that leaves our fellow citizens knowing a grief they wish they had never known.
Is there any doubt that the juvenile system is broken?
Broken's too nice of a word for it. It's outdated, it's broken, it's in catastrophic failure.
Let's let them go. 1, 2, 3.